All right, not this time. All right, not this time. When I heard the Solange album was coming out, I really didn't know how to take it, especially considering how much I heavily enjoyed A Seat at the Table. It was so political yet personal. Many themes of empowering and justice and self-love. Solange is pretty progressive when it comes to this R&B thing. Something I noticed about this is that it kind of perfectly bridged the gap between Women's History Month and Black History Month. I think the timing of this album was really strategic, and I really appreciated how listening to this project, it can be enjoyed from the standpoint of a black male or a black woman. A few themes in the project that really struck me in the right way was the fact that it's not so typically feminine. She actually embraces the difference her male artists bring to the table to create an energy and an opening beyond what we know of typical R&B and rap music. So hearing a Gucci Mane on this album isn't so odd. Hearing Earl Sweatshirt and Tyler the Creator on this album isn't so odd. Fucking Playboy Cardi. Pharrell shows up. Metro Boomin shows up. Blood Orange shows up. I'm gonna try to connect this as best I can, but even the male artists, their features being placed on this album go to show that she's trying to show that we are more than what we are popular in. You know, most people know a Gucci for being a typical rapper. Most people know a Playboy Cardi for being a typical rapper, and that's pretty much all that they do. And one of the sentiments I saw her expressing heavily in this project was the fact that she didn't want to be tied down to one thing. She wanted to express herself in as many lanes as humanly possible. Now, a lot of people hit me up on Twitter talking about this album is so artsy, it's trying to be woke, it's not really saying anything. She's just repeating herself the same way over and over again. And that's how I know you're not black enough to understand the fucking album.
He didn't really mean that.
You weak.
He didn't mean that.
You a bitch ass. Saw Things I Imagine is literally a track where she's talking about how you have to see things before they happen. She repeats this to herself to reiterate the idea of you constantly having to say to yourself, no matter what is actually in front of you, you have to imagine it before you can envision it, before you can see it. These lyrics don't just come in the form of her repeating herself. They're almost like chants. They're like a mantra that she feels the need to repeat in order for these things to actually happen. She does the same thing on the track Dreams, where I feel like she's kind of speaking to a younger version of herself and all these different versions of herself that she referred to on Can I Hold the Mic, where she talks about being able to express herself in so many different ways, almost as if she separated herself into so many different lanes that all came together on the track Dream to console a younger version of herself, to say you just have to be persistent, you just have to keep believing, you just have to keep trying. She places the emphasis on the power of a dream, but also places emphasis on the idea of patience required for that dream to develop. Also, let's congratulate John Key on the keyboard for perfectly matching the keys to her voice to develop the intensity of what it is that she's saying. Oh my god. There are so many interludes on this album, and I can only guess that the amount of interludes are to reinforce the idea of the previous or next track, because they do transition into each other pretty smoothly, like how Beltway and Exit Scott work so well together to describe Solange's love and how deeply it goes. Beltway is probably one of the most lyrically absent tracks on this project, but the next interlude helps to reinforce its idea by opening with a poem saying how little they would actually have to use vocally to describe their love for an individual. These are also references to Houston thrown in there. She's born in Houston, her family's from Houston. She also has the second track, I think it's McGregor, that has a piano sample from Felicia Rashad's mother, again adding to her view of the importance of black women. The same thing happens with the track Jerrod. Jerrod comes after the Deal with the Freakin' intermission. Jerrod comes after that intermission to musically reinforce the ideas found in that intermission itself. In that intermission, it alludes to women being these divine creatures that are more than just sexual encounters, that you are the direct representation of a divine consciousness. And then what do we get on Jerrod? A track where Solange makes the idea of a sexual encounter feel like an expedition through the universe. Her voice is so enchanting on this track, and I don't think it's a mistake that I can't find any other word to describe this track than it just keeps pulling me in. Like a vagina. Because it just keeps.
God, you are
all right.
So
yeah,
poetic.
maybe not. She also references Aaliyah on Down with the Clique. You can also hear Tyler the Creator carefully placed on this track, and I use the word carefully kind of just to describe how reassuring Solange's voice is on this track. Her voice acts as a constant pillow of support. Any abrasive changes on this track could rock the boat.
Okay, you're just doing it on purpose at this point.
I swear to God.
What's wrong?
Her lyrics are repeated so many times in tracks like this that it almost makes the track itself feel like it's a whole hook. The bass on Stay Flow before the chorus, leading into her rising vocals, then leveling themselves out, entering her second verse, is nuts. Shit! On Stay Flow, she also seems to be somewhat addressing the differences between men and women and how they're viewed for making certain decisions, kind of implying how men get to do whatever they want to do without crucifixion, at the same time being judged by insecure men for flexing as a woman. It also seemed like she may have been addressing strippers at one point. Almeda might be one of the best tracks on this album, again, coming after the track before it that kind of opens you up to the idea of what the next track may be about. A little bit too much to get into in this video, but pay attention to the water references of the previous track, go into the next track to pay attention to those water references, pay attention to the fact that the previous track is also titled Nothing Without Intention, and go into this track looking at it as if it wasn't made without intention. The track Almeda places heavy emphasis on being proud of everything black and embracing everything black, from hairstyles to regular clothing to the way we dress, the way we talk, the way we walk, our features. It's a chopped and screwed instrumental again to reference her Houston culture. The shocking thing to me about this track is how she manages to include Pharrell, The Dream, Metro, and Cardi, and it all work. And that's when I say Solange acts as kind of like the perfect glue to connect some of these artists who I feel wouldn't normally work with one another or create an album or projects as daring as this on their own. Typically, we find some of our favorite male R&B, male rappers in lanes that are very repetitive and very consistent in staying or sticking to one sound or one thing. And I think Solange actually acts as a way to kind of make them better and bring them out of their shell a little bit. She uses them to actually reinforce the idea of being able to be successful in multiple lanes, as she says she wants to be on the interlude Can I Hold the Mic. Almeda beautifully transitions into Time Is. That starts off with a beautiful piano key in her vocals as you can hear them. Oh my fucking goodness, this is my favorite track on this album by far. Seeing Sampha for writing credits on a portion of this song was really cool for me, not only because I'm excited to see and hear him on a track again since 2017, but it also reminded me of some of the electronic material near the second portion of this track that we got off of his Process album back in early 2017. The bass guitar keeps falling into the piano, and it's like Solange at one point is playing a game of Pong with herself. She's bouncing the beat back and forth between her vocals. Oh my god, and then Sampha joins after that beautiful... Jesus Christ. Based off the lyrical content of this track, I can assume that she's asking herself if the love that she shares with this other person is strong enough to withstand the unknown. Then on the track My Skin, My Logo, it's a super atmospheric, rhythmic, jazzy track where Gucci and Solange go into what makes each other tick. She uses this slumped, groggy, yet charismatic flow to match the placid tone of the beat. Gucci also seems a little bit faded, but he seems to also be talking about a time where they may have gone to the strip club together. And then we have the final track on this album, I'm a Witness, that kind of acts as a prayer to God, saying that she's willing to allow her body to be used as a vessel to accomplish whatever needs to be done. I don't know if it's a specific God. I don't know if she's referencing herself in past tense or in future. This album doesn't have many significant high points to the degree that it changes massively in tone. It all seems to be pretty similarly crafted. I get the impression that a lot of these tracks took the same amount of time to create to the degree that they sound quality, so it doesn't appear as though one track is making another track seem obsolete or unnecessary, even if it wasn't your favorite. This album works as a good follow-up to A Seat at the Table to me because it acts as a nice guideline as what to do after you've become aware of your position. If in the album she was trying to get you to acknowledge the plights and the standing of black women politically or in everyday life, you can look at this album as a nice healthy follow-up to not only as a black person, but as a woman, if you are one, to reinforce your belief system, to stay clear and positive in what you believe in and stay consistent with it, to repeat it as many times as you need to get it to actually happen. Clear Houston references as an example to not forget where you came from. To me, it's pretty instructional, if that makes any sense. And in this album, I think she might help a lot of people develop their own meditation rules and their own mantra. I really enjoyed this project. I think Solange did a great job putting it together. It's a lot of information compacted into under 40 minutes worth of content. So I like it. Let me know how you feel about it in the comment section down below. It's been Shawn C. I'll see y'all next time. Solange, when I get home, I'll see you next time, and I'm out. Peace.